Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Today, I want to talk to you about a refinement in our discernment. There is a lot of narratives, information, and data. In fact, this age is the age of data information, but it doesn't mean that it is the age of wisdom. There is a plethora of opinions, of interpretation of facts, of insights, breakthroughs that is being shared, particularly in mass media. And all that information is floating about, but it doesn't mean that all of it is 100% truth, valid, or for that matter, is true to you in this moment and time. What someone else's truth is may not be appropriate or true for you at this moment. And how do you cultivate this kind of discernment and this kind of knowing to figure out what is true to you and what should be included in your practice? Because the one thing we can say about the past 3 or 4 years is that existing paradigms have cracked, and we have to somehow reconstruct a paradigm for our own life, and more importantly, for our correct and appropriate relationship with our higher power. In the Bible, there were multiple instances in which certain patriarchs in the Bible were labeled as being righteous. Noah and his family were, God had asked Gabriel to talk to Noah and tell him how to build the ark, because out of all the people on earth, Noah was righteous. Enoch was the righteous of God. There are lots of other patriarchs that were righteous. What does that mean? And in what ways can we align ourselves to become righteous of God? What is that relation? What is the right relationship with God? And particularly on a journey when we are trying, where we're going through the deconstruction of a whole bunch of paradigm, because being righteous does not mean obeying law, because the Pharisees obeyed the law as written, and they were great at obeying the law. I remember years ago, SNL used to have a character played, I forgot the name of the actor, the comedian, that used to be the church lady. And she would do everything by the church standard, but be extremely judgmental and extremely condemning and calling everybody, is that coming from Satan? Is it coming from Lucifer? And, that, but as a joke. But lo and behold, many of us in religious setting have met people that were this way, that they were busy pointing out the shortcoming of people because they were interpreting the words of the holy books in a very specific bent. And this is true of all religion, not only the Catholic Church or the Christian Church, but it can happen in Buddhism, it can happen in the Muslim culture as fundamentalists. It can, it can happen in any religion. These individuals are not righteous. They don't have the right relationship with God, although they proclaim to be the right, and they proclaim to be religious and to be connected with, but they are not. Because one of the things that happened, if you remember passages from the New Testament with Jesus and the Pharisees, he would point out their hypocrisy and their lie. Because although they demonstrated on to the world that they were righteous, but they were not, because their life was lacking. They lacked acceptance. They were judgmental. They lacked humility. There's a whole bunch of things that they lacked. So to be righteous is not to obey the law. It's not for you to be to do on paper what is needed, what is morally needed of you. There are lots of time when you're being righteous, meaning when you're doing what's right as per your own inner God. This is the way I'm interpreting righteousness to be, is that your own inner knowing is guiding you as to what is the right path for you. Because as this stimulation is taking place, there's a thin line that we all need to navigate. And it's going to be individual for everyone, that you have to find a way to walk that thin line step by step so that you don't fall off the edges. And the way you do this is by having an inner conversation with yourself and your higher power. And I mean by that, because we are masters of self-deceit. And these big events, these big, it's very easy on mass media right now to watch a video about some sort of like a disclosure event or disclosure thing, and all of a sudden find that the algorithm of any of this like media platform begin to funnel similar, and a lot of time these things are not completely true. I don't want to say that they're lies or they're deceitful, although in some instances they are, but a lot of time it's an interpretation and a spin on certain types of information. So we need to sit with ourselves to figure out, how do I interpret this information that I'm receiving? Where is this coming from? And so one has to be very careful, because when you sit and if the bombardment of these algorithms and then you keep thinking to yourself, Google or Facebook or whatever, or you find yourself receiving all these unsolicited emails that are giving you all this information. I don't know how I got into this. Well, the algorithm or the AI thinking on Google or any of these things, because you've looked at one or two of these videos, everything that relates to that particular topic, they're funneling to you. And before you know it, you're off center. Because when anybody that has done marketing will tell you that the way you convert somebody from a no into a yes is by bombarding the request toward them 8, 9, 10, 15 times. And by the time you get to that amount of time, the no becomes a yes. This is what in marketing is called conversion. And so it's the same process that's being done by these algorithms. And one has to be very careful that when this information comes in, there is a way on YouTube to actually click certain things off to let the algorithm know that you're not interested anymore. You looked at it once or twice and you're going to click it off so that it doesn't bring any more of these things to you. And so one has to be very, very careful, because that information can put you into a mindset that is actually toxic to the true path that your soul has chosen for this lifetime. And if you begin to derail, it will take an Herculean effort for you to find the right path again. It's not that it's impossible, but it will take a lot of work for you to realize I derailed. I'm off my path. I need to rejoin the path and let go of all these other beliefs that I thought were right at the moment. And this is where the doubt and the confusion comes in. This is where we begin to doubt ourselves and saying, is this information correct? Or is what I'm feeling inside of me correct? Because and again, all these information that I've witnessed on mass media, there is some kernel of truth in there. some part, whether it's about medicine, whether it's about energies, whether it is about political and social issue, there's some kernel of truth in there, but it's the spin and the interpretation of it, how it all of a sudden derailed into something else, something completely whacked and a little bit cuckoo. So what I'm saying is that we have to figure out individually what that right relationship with our higher power is. How do I become righteous? By following what is true to me. Moreover, everybody on the planet has the right to figure it out on their own. So if you noticed, and I know enough people on mass media to notice that certain people are extremely intolerant of the position that someone else would take. I don't start argument with anybody on mass media. I don't try to tell people what they should or should not be doing. I simply, try to live my life. If anything, I would give a suggestion on how one should interpret certain facts, but it's all to be interpreted by you. It's how you see it and how you interpret it. It's not for me to tell you what you should be doing. So keeping that in mind, I can tell you that a lot of people that whose character I could have sworn I knew, and I would have vouched for them, go to hell and fight for them. They have derailed and went off some sort of like tangential path that I don't recognize who they are right now, at this moment. Now, it doesn't mean at some point, if they go on a side path, that somehow they're not going to rejoin, go back in alignment again, or that their path is not true to their choice, because that could be true, that they're taking the side path because this is the choice that they made. And so I have to respect that. I have to accept it. Whether they are friends, they're family members, they're people I channel with, they're people that were colleagues that I trusted, and I'm seeing them going in whatever path that they're going. It is not up to me to so-called rein them in and try to convince them that what they are doing is wrong. It's up to them. You have free will. You've made a choice. And I'm going to accept it as your choice. If you ask me and you ask my what I think, I can share with you the kind of conversation I'm having with you, with the class right now. But it's not for me to tell you. We have to respect other people's will and volition. We have to also accept their choice, and we have to have compassion and care. That it is in God, for all the 8 billion people that are on earth, there's 8 billion variety of expression of the divine. And in that variety, people will choose different paths, will go in different ways, will interpret things completely different way. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty. And therefore, each one is trying to explore and figure it out on their own. And it is not up to me to try to convince anybody any other way. So when I see people that are going in a different direction than me, I simply understand that they are making a different choice. I accept them, I bless them, and I wish them good luck. Now, some of them, the path is so against the choice that I'm making, because a lot of them have been radicalized and in a way that they become fanatic and zealous, zealotly try to attack my position or anybody that's choosing similar position as me, I still have compassion for them. I don't want them in my life, but I still have compassion for them, because that kind of zealotry is a it's mind control. They fell down their own path and they've been mind control, and I'm gonna let it go. And they're sentient being, they're God and goddesses. They will figure it out. It's not for me to try to point it out and try to I don't need to save anybody. It's difficult enough for me to figure out what's the next step for me. Okay, because that righteous, my righteous path, me being right with my God, is complicated enough. And the more that I'm treating people like I know better, I am actually out of alignment with what my God is telling me. When I think I know how everyone should be, and I know exactly how the world should be, I'm out of alignment with what my own higher power is telling me, because my higher power is telling me everybody has to make their own choice. And if somebody asks me what I think, I can share, as I said, I can have the kind of conversation we're having now, and I can give the power back to them and say, you choose and you follow your own instinct. Because we lie to ourselves all the time, but energy doesn't lie. When you sit in the morphogenic listening state, when you're talking inwardly to yourself and you're having that inner conversation, you will know the truth. Because that inner query will reveal to you what the truth is. As you go back and forth and converse and so on and so forth, it will eventually surface and you will know what is the right path for you. Because there is there is enough agitating events, whether it is the catastrophic climate change event that are taking out in California and are playing out in California right now, or whether it is all kinds of other things, social, political things that are happening around the world, whether it is the war that's happening between Russia and Ukraine, whatever it may be, there's enough going on to create confusion and chaos. Yet, what these events are doing, they are honing your ability to truly listen to the voice within. They are trying to help you hone, because a lot of it, I've experienced it, where you begin to doubt that voice that's within you, and because the stuff outside is so loud, and you begin to think, I'm being bombarded with this, and it's so big and it's coming toward me. Maybe what that voice is telling me within isn't correct, and that thing outside is true. And it creates momentarily doubts, confusion, where one moment you're on one side of the pendulum and the other moment you're on that side, and you keep swinging back and forth, and you think you're convinced when you're on that side of the pendulum that part is true, and then you're convinced. And this is the way you evolve discernment, and you become more and more aligned to understand what that inner voice sounds like. I have to tell you that the stuff from the outside, when it comes to you, you feel it very strongly in your gut, and it is so loud that your whole body begins to shake and vibrate. Okay? So emotionally, if I can measure, I can describe it as a measure of the scale of the emotional impact, is that when the external stuff that are creating the doubt comes in, you become panicked and agitated, and that you want to burn things and you want to move very quickly, and you have to save yourself because you're in danger. And when you feel this way, for me in any event, those are the doubts that are creating my external agitation. I cannot listen to it. I cannot follow it. No matter how much at that moment it's triggering my emotional body to react. because what it is, it's a reactive thing from a trigger. When I sit quietly and I go and empty myself completely by releasing all my attachments to everything that exists in my life and in this universe, my attachment to that external thing that's trying to scare me, I release all of it. When I become completely empty, at that moment, there is a faint whisper. It's clear. It feels like a wave. It's very clear, but it's soft and it's very faint. It's not that visceral kind of like run and flee because you're in danger. I want you to understand the difference between the two. They're not the same. When the voice of God came in, it is, the way I describe it, it is faint and at the same time all-knowing. That's the best way I can describe it, because it's so transcendental, it's beyond any other description. It is a faint, all-knowing thing, but it is internal, and it happens when I'm very quiet. I have to go in meditation. I have to relax. I have to be listening to my inner my God within me, and I have to keep querying. And when I get to a point, all of a sudden, it's like an insight and a breakthrough and clarity, and I know what I'm supposed to do. Whereas the other external agitants, when they come in, they create a very strong emotional reaction, like something I cannot control. Like an avalanche falling off of the side of a mountain. So I want to, and it's very, they are opposite of each other. And for me, it's a gauge. And by the way, when you have the avalanche emotional reaction going on, it's very hard for you to go back to find that quiet place. Because when that emotional reaction begins and the turbulence is kicking in, what I'm saying to you is that when you have those strong emotional reaction, this is not the time for you to make a decision. Lock yourself up in your apartment and don't go out, and don't make any decision. Don't send an email. Don't yell at people. In fact, when you're having a strong emotional reaction, go internal. Don't do nothing. Because within a few hours, or a day or two, all of that will simply vanish, and you will have the clarity back, and you will realize that whatever that was, it wasn't your truth. You were being pushed and agitated. It wasn't your truth. So to be in that quiet place where you are releasing and letting go of everything is the key. But when there is enough, as I say, agitation, let's say you are in Mammoth Lake in California and you have 12 feet of snow around you and there's no food, you're going to be agitated, you're going to be in panic, you're going to do what you need to do to survive. And at that point, that agitation will help you survive, and you need it, right? But to many, for example, maybe spirit can guide you ahead of time and say to you, you need to get out before the snowstorm comes in, because this is not going to be good. If you listen to the quiet part in you, you need to get out. That's what I mean about being righteous. You're walking a thin line where spirit is always in front of you, and at every step of the way, you're being guided as to what you're supposed to do and where you're supposed to go. I remember this Kung Fu movie, I'm trying to remember the name now, and it was about Tai Chi masters and the Imperial Court, and this very evil being who was trying to steal the chi, or the power, the vital life force, the prana of many people, so that he can become a superhuman being. And there was a young swordsman that was playing Chinese chess with an elder master. And he said to the elder Tai Chi master, when I saw what you were able to do in the imperial court, I realized the amount of power that you had. I dare not show my face. And they were both drinking tea as well. And the elder master said, power? He said, what power? He said, the power is not mine. He said, the only difference between you and I is that my heart is emptier than yours. And he took the teacup that was empty. He said, you see this teacup? Because it is empty, I'm able to draw from around me the power that exists, the power of life that exists everywhere, the prana that exists everywhere, and that prana goes within me. I am just an inlet for it because I have emptied myself out. I'm telling you, when I heard this, my head exploded. Now, I watch a lot of these Kung Fu, Tai Chi kind of movies because there's a part of me that understand there's some profound truth being told in these cultivation of energies and all of this. There's a lot of truth that's in there. And I've gone back to that clip and I've replayed it multiple times to hear exactly what he was saying. Because it was just like a light bulb moment. I'm like, this is what I've been trying to tell my student. This is exactly what I've been trying to teach. The key is that you have to empty yourself out. Because he said, the power is not mine, it's borrowed. I take it from everywhere. And it's to the degree that I'm empty. So the key, really, as my teacher, Dr. Stone, used to say, is to have involved detachment. You're involved in the world, you have intentions, good intention for this, intention for that, but you're not attached to the outcome. So you end up having involved detachment. So you're walking around, and if for whatever reason, because God's plan is constantly being rearranged, it doesn't happen exactly as you saw it linearly. It was supposed to happen this way, this color, at this date, if it doesn't happen this way, it gets rearranged. You're malleable enough to allow the universe to lead you, because the path that's in front of you is not clear. It's like we're moving into a dense fog, knowing that in the fog out there, there's an outline of a figure somewhere, but you cannot recognize what that figure is. Or there's a path, there's a safe path. And we have to feel emotionally our way into it. And for that to happen, you have to trust the connection that you have with that small voice. You have to completely trust it, and you have to have the faith that that voice will guide you every step of the way into the truth. And that will give you your righteous path to God. Now, it's not something that's easily done, because it's an ongoing, emerging process. It's not an event. It's not something you do once and all of a sudden you know exactly between now and the next 100 years what's supposed to happen. This is not the way it is. You have to keep trusting it, and you have to keep cultivating that relationship. You have to keep moving along the path. And as you're moving along the path, you're going to have more and more of these stronger, loud, emotional reactions that are going to try to distract you and try to tell you the opposite, that what you're feeling is true in your heart is actually not true. And for that matter, everyone around you will tell you you're wrong. Okay, I'm going to give you an example, a simple biblical example. When Archangel Gabriel went to Noah and told Noah, you have to build an ark, and gave him all the instruction to get the wood, the size, the how many cubits, and the proportion, etc., and to take 2 animals of any kind and to load them on this boat, that there's going to be a flood. That is the antithesis of everything that existed in the world at that time. Basically, what the angel, or what that the guiding principle that was in that fog told them was crazy talk. Okay? According to what everyone knew in the world, because no such event had ever been recorded. So everybody thought he was cuckoo. All his neighbors thought he was crazy. Everyone ridiculed him. There's a movie about his life that was made by Mel Gibson that talks about how if all the neighbors, everybody thought they ridiculed him until the rain started. And then they realized, and they all were trying to get on board, but God, everything had been closed already, and God, and because they were not righteous, it was a done deal. And you have to understand something. When that happened, the water that fell down. Okay, California is having a lot of rain in some areas and a lot of snow in some other areas. One out of a week and a half ago, 11 inches of rain fell in one day. Okay, flooding, causing mudslide. The ground was so saturated, etc. This is nothing compared to the event that we're talking about, because not only was it raining heavily, much heavier than that, but also all underground current and water cistern broke away and jet water upwards as well. This is according to the Bible. It was a water event that's unlike anything that everyone has ever witnessed before. So again, that voice of righteousness will often tell you to do things that will appear completely crazy. This is why I don't ridicule or make fun of anyone else that I see moving in a different path. Because to them, whatever they're listening to, because whatever, okay, when Noah got the information, it was only for Noah and his family. It was not for anyone else. Because they were the only one that were saved from this flood. It was for him and his family. and of course, 2 of the animals, according to this legend. So it is something that we need to keep in mind, that a lot of time that voice within you will tell you things, while everyone that's of authority around you will tell you the opposite. But you need to follow that inner knowing, because if it's coming from that still and quiet place, it is the truth. It is your truth, and it is your righteous path. It may not be anybody else, but it is your righteous path. Any questions or any comments you may have?
This is so good to hear, Pierre. Of course, everything in hindsight is very clear, isn't it? I can recall a time in my past where I was at a crossroads. I didn't know what to do. And somebody brought an idea conveying that it was the best and the only way to go. And a little small voice, as you said, in me wasn't accepting that, but I wanted it to be the solution. I wanted a solution, and somebody offering a solution was better than none. And I think about the appropriateness of listening to that voice, but also the ability to truly hear the voice if you're free from all of the programmings, all the fears, all the emotional garbage that you carry along that prevents you from really hearing truth to you, and how important that whole process that we've been working on is, to empty out the those things that, like carbuncles, as I said last week, just hang on in an unconscious way many times. So hearing that small voice can be blocked, can't it?
Yes, and it is being blocked but and this is why I'm bringing the awareness to social media. To my understanding and to what I'm observing, my observation, social media has a lot to do with it. The algorithm on these sites, on this, from Google, from all these places, you because a lot of time people I respect send me videos, send me links to information, all that, and I watch it because they're people I trust. And then all of a sudden, it's like the best way I can describe it. If you're on Facebook, let's say for example, and you look at the ad for underwear or shoes, for the next month and a half, every shoe ad that there is on Facebook will be directed on your page.
Right, right.
Okay? This is what the algorithm does. So all of a sudden, I'm being bombarded. And even though it was just a question out of respect for my friends, I'm looking at the information that they're sending me.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, I'm being bombarded with this information. But again, in all of these instances, I have not, very rarely have I seen things that were completely whacked. Some seed of truth exists in them. And this is the way they get you.
Right.
And if that seed of truth is your pet peeve, you're a goner.
Yeah.
You're a goner. Because they're going to grab you by that and you're going to derail very shortly into something else. You're going to be mind controlled. And you're going to be out of character. You're going to be behaving out of character to who you are.
Yes.
And this is my observation. This is what I've been witnessing for the past 3 years. And there were moments where I performed. I literally, because they got me for my pet peeve, for my own fears. And I emotionally, and when I, lost in my own panic and my own fear. And I had to literally, and at least I had the discernment when I am in that state. I'm so emotionally raw and out of control, I cannot make a decision right now. And I need to lock the door and not deal with anyone or talk to anyone. I just need to allow this emotional explosion, a volcano that's going inside of me, to spew out quietly without splashing or destroying anything. Because my energy is very big and I don't want to hurt anybody in the spillover. I have a half sister. She has an anger management issue, and I remember seeing her on Facebook saying a status, heavily medicated for your protection.
Oh, I like that.
There's nothing you can say. I know her. I know exactly where she is. You got to stay away because she will rip your head out, and then we'll realize it a week later. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, after so
It's like
you need to stay away.
it's like beware of dog sign around your
Exactly. So I'm aware of this with myself. I have that as well. She and I share the same blood. I'm capable of doing this too. So when I'm in that state, I have to stay away. And here is a couple of things that I do, particularly when information is being presented to me by people I trust. Did you see this link, this video? This person is saying this person is channeling this information about spirituality. That one is saying that, or the other. And there's a lot of people, for example, who are going out there and saying that Archangel, Metatron, or all of these higher celestial beings, or all deceivers, it's a lie. Now, all this crazy stuff that are going about. I know what's true to me. When I connect to Melchizedek, when I connect to Lord Metatron, I know when I go in that quiet place, I know what it is, and no one can take that away from me. All your other rationalization and conversation, or everything that you're saying, is something else. And I don't know where that is coming from. I'm not interested. Now, here are the standards that I use. When somebody brings me information, I look at the information, but I ask with those kind of filters. If it's creating fear in me, if it's also asking, and if it is also accusing a person or a group of people of being responsible for the derailment of the planet or of the earth, whatever path it's trying to say that we're taking or not taking. And if it's asking me now, thirdly, to bring the same information and spread it around to other people by telling them that, by awakening people and telling them that these other two things are true, it is the wrong path for me. So those are the three factors that I gauge, that I use as a filter. Is it generating fear in me? Are they demonizing a person or a group of people? Is this information trying to tell me, in other words, is there a scapegoat? And if the scapegoat is there, and thirdly, are they asking me to go around and propagate this? If all three of them are true, this is coming. It's basically archon information in disguise. It's coming from the wrong place. It's mind control. I have to walk away. There's no truth in it for me. And again, as far as the algorithm is concerned, when it's beginning to show up, I simply don't touch, don't block. After a while, the algorithm will realize that you're not interested. After a month, it will stop sending them.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, the word that comes to my mind is gaslighting.
Yes.
And I think it helps to label it as such. And I'm glad the more and more people are using that, whether it's playing a victim, you know, or being aggressive, because it's gaslighting can take so many different forms. And it can be more obvious, it can be very subtle, but if you kind of train yourself to acknowledge it and to see it, it seems to be very helpful nowadays because there's a lot of it going on. There's a lot of it going. It reminds me of the times, you know, being from Poland, we studied a lot about World War II and the history of World War II. I mean, like a lot for years. Like we were like beating it with a stick in history and even in other classes too. And we studied a lot because, you know, it's quite amazing the millions of perfectly normal functioning adults, right? Families, people, suddenly with families, church going, and suddenly would turn around and become monsters. You know, because World War II wasn't about Hitler. If nobody followed Hitler, he would be just a little schizophrenic man standing on a corner talking to himself. You know, he was obviously sick and he has issues. But what was surprising is that so many average folks, church-going, good, so-called good people, followed them and played a part in this something that was so evil. And it started with gaslighting. And started with gaslighting, and the more I'm like observing people at different spectrums, you know, it could be mass shootings, but it could be even just bullying. And it happens to men and women in little different ways. But it's quite amazing how that bubble, how it can have a hold on people. It can be and it can be extremely powerful. And it kind of like when it takes a grips on you, you like you don't think clearly. And And it can be obviously very powerful because, I mean, look what happened in Germany in World War II, right? It wasn't some sort of, it was something that happened, 300 years ago. It was still recent history.
Mm-hmm.
People who thought, there are some people who thought in this war, they're still alive.
Mm-hmm.
And what really stands out to me, how it's all came down to gaslighting, where the propaganda machine was so powerful
Mm-hmm.
that it was able to take like this iron fist, the iron grip on people, and change not a few, but millions of normal church-going family people and turn them into monsters.
Mm-hmm.
So because it wasn't just, oh, we sent soldiers to the battlefront and we know nothing. There were concentration camps all over the town. There were persecution of Jews. It was happening to the neighbor next door.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't, everybody was kind of either contributing or turning the blind eye.
Mm-hmm.
And it was happening in the homes, in the apartments, in the buildings. It wasn't the kind of thing that, oh, it happened on the front somewhere far away. Boys are fighting and beating up each other. This was in people's homes and their neighbors. So the indifference to human life and suffering was common among common people. And again, it's quite amazing how that bubble can be so confusing and overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
So being aware about gaslighting, even in subtle forms, will help you to protect yourself from things like that.
Yeah.
And it can be, and to me, it seems very important because there's more and more people about talking about mental health issues. And from what I understand, it's going to get worse before it's going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And so gaslighting is a big part of that. And then, and being self-aware, because I sometimes feel like something is influencing me, and you can train yourself to catch yourself. You can train yourself to say, well, wait a minute, but this is not like me.
Mm-hmm.
This is not my normal reaction. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And usually that's enough that you can, even if you cannot stop it immediately, you can work with it,
Right.
or you can ask for help, or you can ask for protection.
Yeah, this is why I'm saying that when that happens to me, I lock myself up. I'm like, I'm not making any decision right now because
Yeah.
this is so unlike me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't typically react this way.
Yeah, but it is just self-awareness, even in the subtle casual ways. When you're walking down the street, when you're riding the subway, when you're on a train, you can. I have had the experience waiting for the bus
Mm-hmm.
where I feel something. There was sometimes what people do lately a lot for some reason. They would just cut you if there's a line. They would just cut you off, get on the bus, and don't even pay.
Mm-hmm.
And the more and more people are doing it, which was used to, you never saw these things over, maybe late at night or something.
Yeah.
And now in the broad daylight, they don't even apologize. The bus drivers don't say anything because they don't want a confrontation.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
But I've been seeing it a lot, and I'm waiting in line, and I notice I'm having a reaction. I was like, why am I having a reaction? This is not like me.
Yeah.
I don't care. I know it's like there's nothing I can do about it. For me to be reactive to this, it's not my normal
Yeah.
behavior. It's not my normal reaction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So even in those small, small, tiny instances, if you catch yourself with that, you catch yourself with anything else.
Yeah. 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 You have to be on the ball all the time, Ursula. And thank you for mentioning this. You mentioned quite a bit actually. Going back over what you were saying about people jumping the train or the buses, and I witnessed quite a bit of that as well. the news last week, I don't know if you saw this, but all of the Walmart that are in Portland, Oregon, have been shut down. They're being closed
I didn't see that.
because of theft.
Mm.
A lot of the people in Portland area in all small retailers are shutting down their door for the same reason.
Mm.
The amount of theft since the beginning of COVID, people lifting expensive items and the small shop. If Walmart cannot survive, you can imagine what happened to a small shop.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're a mom and pop thing and you have, let's say, this one woman they were interviewing, she had luxury. She has a consignment resale where people are selling the Gucci bags and she makes a profit on some of it. She lost so much money and she has the video. She had video camera of all these people. They come in group and they're stealing all of her stuff and they resell them online. They have their own website and they resell it online for nothing because they're stealing her merchandise.
Yeah.
And she said, I can't survive. I'm shutting down.
Yeah.
So there is that part. And I'm not pro Walmart. You have to understand. What I'm saying is that I'm just observing what is happening. And there is a prediction of one of our guide that was saying that there's going to be lawlessness.
Yes. Yes. You just reminded me. Like that's the good word. That's a good way to say it. Yeah.
And as far as the gaslighting is concerned, it's a different terminology, but it's a mind control thing. And it begins by a repeat of a lie over and over and over again. And there is a point where there is conversion.
Right.
You begin to believe the lie to be true.
Right. Or even just making you feel in a certain way.
Well, this is the point of that lie. This is what I was saying. There is a seed of truth that's always inside of it, and this is the way they get you because it's a pet peeve.
That's the opening.
That's the opening. This is the way it gets in.
Yeah, yeah, and it's and it's a lot of it on the news right now. Whether a lot of famous people, and it's not even which side. It's not so much which side are you on. It's more about how it works, how it happens, how it functions. The fact that it makes you feel in a certain way, and then what it can do to you, because it can be a powerful thing. And sometimes it's combined with bullying, and you really gotta have this daily practice makes all the difference. That's what I'm trying to say.
And going back to over the gaslighting or the mind control, a lot of times the people who are presenting this information, whether it's a video you're watching or an interview or whatever, they are people of authority. Okay.
Yeah.
If it's a medical thing, it's a doctor, it's a physician, it's a group of doctors. If it's a politician, it's a social worker, it's somebody, or it's a scientist, somebody of authority.
Or even a famous person.
A famous person, yeah, for somebody of authority.
Actor.
And when that is being presented, this is where your guard begins to go down. And and this is the way the seed of the untruth or the false belief begin to derail you. Yeah. And so you have to be very discerning. And in other words, that conversation, that inner conversation, has to be the one and only truth that you exist in.
Yeah, yeah. And I would also say, like, pretty much daily practice. Like maybe you take breaks on weekends or something. I don't practice every day. I take breaks on weekends, like this is my rest day and I just do the class, but I don't worry too much. But other than that, on a daily basis, even when you ride on a train, when you're waiting for the bus, if you're watching somebody, you're feeling triggered about stupid thing, to ask yourself, do I really care? Do I really feel this way? Or am I just picking up, stuff either from maybe the news that I watched yesterday, or maybe the movie that I watched the day before, or maybe somebody said something. You know, a lot of it will be influenced in some way, in some ways, and then it just, and if you're reacting, then you have to catch yourself, because that's our responsibility.
Yeah, because a lot of that reaction is not authentically you. It's inherited. You got it from someone else.
Exactly. And you know, sometimes you don't know. It can plant a little seed, but that seed, if you don't catch it, it can grow and create something else. So just, it's not like a big effort, or you need to sit down and spend an hour. Just when you have a moment, you're waiting on the bus, and you like, examine yourself. What am I feeling when I'm looking at people? Does that aggravate me? Does that make me angry? Am I judging? And if I am, why? You know, like I was judging the woman that cut herself. I was like, I was gonna tell her, oh, you know, you cut herself. I was like, why would I want to tell her something? I mean, I don't. That's not like me to try. You want to tell her something. Why do I feel this way? Why did I react this way? Because you know, you shouldn't ignore these things. Because this was, you know, this time maybe was nothing, next time it could have been worse. And then it's also a matter of practice.
And to your point, Ursula, a lot of people are mentally unhinged right now.
Yes.
Going in a confrontation with somebody like this could cause you all kinds of harm.
Yeah, it's the last thing you want to do.
You don't need to walk away.
Walk away, but the thing is,
it's not your battle. It's not your battle. Walk away.
But the question is, you know, like, if you catch yourself thinking this way or feeling this way, don't ignore it.
Yes.
Also, you know, because you wanna meditate on it. You wanna check, why did I react this way?
No.
Is it something in my energy field? Is it something on my mind that maybe I heard, maybe I saw, maybe I'm being influenced, that it's causing me this?
Yeah.
And don't just ignore it like it's nothing.
Yes, and again, you have an attachment to something, to an outcome. You think that people should be. A lot of time, it's our own. It's our own inner Pharisees, which thinks that people should behave in a certain way.
Right, which is controlling.
Yeah. It's about you trying to, you know, rule and propagate behavior to the world, and everyone should behave in a certain way.
Yes.
So and if that is the truth, you have to let go of this. This is
If it's showing the program, you gotta
let go of
address it. You gotta address it.
Let go because it's not serving you.
Yeah.
And again, like the Tai Chi master was saying in that movie, he said to the younger swordsman who also had a lot of power, chi power, but he said, my heart is emptier than yours because I have less attachment. And this is the key. When you don't have all these attachment and you're listening. And by the way, that old Tai Chi master did some extraordinary thing. He got in prison at one point, and every acupoint that he had a needle in it, and they locked him up. And a lot of these younger in the fort, and all of these younger Tai Chi master students came in trying to free him. They couldn't do it. And then he said, I can free myself. My heart is empty enough. And he basically went to a place where he allowed the flow of prana from around him to go into his heart. And every of these acupoint needles that were in him just burst out.
Wow. Yeah. Go ahead.
And again, I know it's a story, but it gives me great hope. And I'm like, this is the kind of thing that when you see it visually like this, it gives you great hope to understand that the path that I've been following, trying to empty myself out, is the right path.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's the right path. The more you do exactly what you're saying to do at the bus station, which is a contemplation, the more you have these inner conversations, the less attachment you will have, and the more empty you will be within. And if you're that open, the prana and the right information that will flow in.
Right. Well, then just to be more specific for the maybe for the purpose for the class is I obviously, I noticed that it wasn't a good or normal reaction, so I could, I paid attention. You don't dismiss these things. Just because I wasn't going around raging doesn't mean I should be dismissing it. If it's not my authentic, don't dismiss it. So I quitted it, and sure enough, it doesn't matter how deep the rabbit hole goes, because that led me to it was very interesting because originally led me to some conquer and control kind of programs, old programs that I used to had to do to survive. Understandable. I've been in the places where sometimes you're in a place where that's the only way to be,
Yes, of course.
And so I let that go. But right behind it, there was something else to it. Right behind it, there was also trying to, the need to belong and the need for oneness, but misguided, misdirected. Because, we disconnect ourselves from source, from God, from source, or your higher self, however you want to call it. But the need is still there because the need is natural, healthy. But if you disconnect yourself from something higher, then the transference occurs, and then you put it on people that are not appropriate.
Yeah.
Just because you didn't have, it's we social creatures. It's a natural thing to do that. So behind that there was that, and I was working on that today, but it's kind of from the one little impression, I was able to trace it back to all these deep programs.
Beautiful.
And it was very deep. First, there was my rural, connected to my rural archetype, and some other things. I'm not sure about the rural archetype. I'm still working on it. If it was just past lives and past programs or something else. But that in turn led me to the last part, which was really the most difficult part, because the need to be one and to belong, it's extremely powerful. It's extremely powerful. I didn't even realize how powerful it was until I started looking at it. So that little trigger led me to these huge discoveries.
Yeah. And the key to fulfill the need to belong is to ask God to give you transcendence for it. A different elevate into something else.
Yes, I did.
The need will always be there. It's to find a way to fulfill it in a healthy, transcendent way.
Yeah, the need is totally healthy.
Yes, of course.
It's just, I was so disconnected from higher aspect, from higher sources, then the transference will happen. If you're not connected to something proper,
yes,
transference will happen. Oh, it happens all the time for everybody. Every boyfriend you meet, your first love, it's all transference. So, but what the key was that it was such a little thing, such a little reaction, and I could have just said, "Oh, it was nothing," and go on with my life. But I didn't, and I'm so glad that I didn't, because that led me to something much bigger.
Yeah, beautiful.
But
congratulations, by the way. That's great.
Thank you. Yes, and sometimes this deeper need to belong to oneness, it's behind of some, it's layered behind something else, because that's how it got created in the first place. Like one thing led to another. You were disconnected from something higher, then you felt that it's like cause and effect,
Yeah.
So definitely just the little things like, and sometimes I ask for help too. I ask my higher self or my guidance, whoever it might be, for help too.
Yeah.
Because sometimes these emotions are hard to, you're feeling to put a name on it.
Yes. And again, going back to the practice and what I'm trying to eliminate, having that righteous connection to yourself, that kind of inner conversation that you're sharing with us, Ursula. It's important for us to understand that the confusion and the unclarity that exists at first, the doubts, because for me it's very complicated because I'm clarity is the gift that I've always had. I've always known what I was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So when I begin to have doubts, when I begin to have insecurities, when I begin to have all of this stuff that are being bombarded through gaslighting, mind control, whatever you want to call it, I begin to have a real problem because I'm not used to that kind of confusion.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And when I kept on, well, first of all, the feeling initially is that somebody robbed me of something very important to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I've always had clarity. So why is it that I'm confused now? Why is it that I'm in doubt? I have two things that are pulling me like a pendulum. From one day I'm this way, the other day I'm believing this, the other day I'm believing that. Which one is true?
Mm-hmm.
And again, when I'm in that seesaw thing, the thing that I do is I don't make a decision. I don't send an email about it. I just sit quiet. I allow it to emotion because I have to become empty and make a decision about where I stand and what is my new belief unless I become empty. So emotionally, I let it play out. It takes a few days sometimes for it to play out. And when it empties out enough for me, then I can go back and say, okay, now go into your morphogenic listening space.
Yeah,
and when you're there, take deep breath and now start querying it.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's important just to lean into it and query it. Something, if you persist, something will show up.
Yes.
And sometimes it's so buried. I mean, there were things that I couldn't put my finger on it for years. But once I did, it was like a rocket ship too. Then it's like suddenly it's like I opened a vault, like I opened the 11-inch thing door that was all rusted and a wooden barge. But like 2 years later, suddenly, because you get to know the feeling.
Yes.
And somebody would say something, somebody would say a word, and it will click.
Yeah.
And then once the door, and it's so worth it because once the door opened, it was like a floodgate of things. Everything just started coming.
And you just remind me something by saying the rusted door and the 12-inch door and all of that. It's the exercise that I call the wall of Jericho.
Yes.
Okay, so the thing that happens is that initially when you contact that inner place, particularly when there's a lot of external agitant, you may feel something, but you may not be able to conclude or get a clear idea of what that something is. Okay? And like you experience, sometimes you have to circle that something multiple times.
Yeah.
Before the wall of Jericho around it collapse, and then what's inside of it beginning to show up.
Yeah.
So we need to be very aware of this because in that inner practice, it's not that every time you go inward, that all of a sudden you have an insight.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of time you go in, you feel something, you sense peace, and then you sense, okay, there's something here with this discomfort. It's trying to tell me something, but you can't figure out what that something is. Part of it is also because, like you have discovered, that one incident had multiple tributary emotion to it.
Yeah.
When things are combined with multiple emotions, it is very difficult to be able to discern them all at once. You have to pull on one thread at a time. And then when you pull it and you isolate, this is control, this is this is that, and it eventually leads you into oh, it's me wanting to belong.
Yeah. Yeah. It starts usually with control. Exactly.
You
And then
understand what I'm
maybe
saying?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
important for us to talk about the truth of the process, because it
Yes.
is a process.
Yes.
Sometimes you go within, you know something is there, but you cannot discern exactly what it is.
Yeah. Or usually, and usually, typically, you don't know right away.
Yeah,
And but it seems to be tedious, but you don't have to spend 10, 15 minutes. It's enough. You
yes,
just
yes.
a
And
quick query every day.
Ursula, I don't think it's tedious. I think it's the only way.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying it might seem like it, but it's not to me.
No,
But
because it's the accelerated path. Because
yeah,
there is no book out there that has been written to help us navigate the shift.
yeah.
I have a book that in mind that I want to write, but I haven't had the quietness in my life to be able to do it. And more importantly, things are changing so quickly. Every
So
time I write a chapter, I have 3 months later, I have to go back and rewrite it again, because so many things have changed, so many new discovery and new insights. So that's one of the reasons why I have not written that book yet. And
but
and the point I'm making about this is that the book, when I was part of the mystery school, they used to talk about two books all the time: the book of nature and the book of man, both of which are not actually books that are written, but they are insight that you get from nature, and they're insight when you go within yourself. So the path is written within you. It's already encoded.
yes, actually, I was gonna say that, like, at first I was getting disappointed
Yes,
and worried
yes,
because it was taking a long time. But then I felt more at ease because I realized that every time I learned something, every time I got closer.
yes,
And it wasn't exactly that maybe I could say, oh, this is what I'm feeling and this is the problem. And it wasn't sometimes like this, but things nevertheless would start showing up with other people. You get mirrors,
yes,
because then it has start happening with how you interact at work, on the job, or even with family members.
yeah,
So even though maybe you don't know right away, but something know that something is happening. So
right,
if it's not that, then maybe it's the mirrors.
yeah,
Maybe how you interacting with people,
yes.
or even
It
or
shows up
even
in your life. The
yeah,
feeling of things you're trying to examine begin to show up in your life.
yeah, or even could be a movie or song or
Yeah, yeah.
something.
Or a book, however, but it will
Yeah,
show externally in some ways.
it will. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it will, and sometimes even if it's taking a while, I realize I always learn something. So I just decided to go with the flow,
yeah,
because it was never a waste of time.
yes, yes,
Every time I learned something, and I just started trusting that.
yeah,
And even though it was breadcrumbs, but there's a reason why it's breadcrumbs, because there's a lot maybe to remember, or a lot to absorb, a lot to, you can't do everything one day.
yeah. And Ursula, this is the only path. Okay, I'm just gonna be honest about it,
And yes,
because if you're listening to anything out there, it will take you again. It's a thin line that exists between you and your connection to the right path for you and your higher power. So if you don't follow that inner knowing through the process we just described,
mm.
and you're listening to external things, you're gonna be in the wrong place.
Oh yeah, for sure. You
You're
you
gonna
have
you're gonna you're gonna be lost. You're gonna be lost. You're gonna go to the wrong place. And when you arrive at an incorrect destination, you're gonna wonder, how did I get there? Because it was not my intention. You just followed the wrong clues. So to the audience, to anyone that's listening, and to all of us in the class, I'm reminding you that this is the way to go. that going through that internal process. And Ursula, thank you for bringing your example, because it's a great illustration of that process that I was trying to describe. That inner dialogue that needs to happen, and it happened. And whatever time that it takes, sometimes it's a few weeks, a few days, maybe a few months, maybe a year. But you have to understand, you had buried this for your entire life. It's not like it wasn't there. It's been there for some time, our entire life.
Well,
and,
it gets
and,
very,
and
very.
the fact that you are able to crack it and discovered that the need that's driving it is immense.
Yeah. Well, the thing, and by the way, what I was going to say also to your point, even if it takes a year or two, it's still quicker than any other way that's out there.
That's it. That's the point. That's the point. It's
Whether you tried therapy or depth psychology, any kind of psychology path, dream work or what have you, this is still the quickest way.
Yeah.
By and not just like multifold.
Yeah.
Because one of those realizations could take a lifetime by some other method.
Yeah.
And to have 3 or 4 like that in a row, this is light speed.
Absolutely. And when you look at your life over last year, when you started to 2021 and to where you are right now, and you realize how many of these breakthroughs you have had. I remember one time I was keeping count. In 1 year, I had 15 breakthroughs.
Oh yeah, easily.
15.
Yeah.
Major breakthroughs of things that I was completely blinded to.
Yeah.
So when you realize how much I've expended because of this, how many baggage I've let go, I've surrendered, so I feel so much lighter. I'm a different person. I'm not the same person anymore.
Yeah. Oh, totally. You're gonna have, because what you don't practice now, you might have to repeat in the future. You keep repeating it until you get it.
Yes.
So to be able to process that, so we don't have to repeat it, it's priceless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I'm trying to give people perspective that maybe it would take a month or a year or even a little longer, but you're on your way.
Yeah, absolutely.
You 10 minutes per day and you're on your way.
Absolutely.
And it will happen. It will happen.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. Before I go on a break, 5-minute break, is there any other questions or comments from anyone else? All right, let us take a 5-minute. Yes, Janice, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So sorry, I wasn't going to say anything, but I would just like to say thank you to both of you for that conversation, which was very, very enlightening.
Yes, Janice, you're welcome. All right, 5-minute break, and then we'll do a closing meditation on the back end. Okay, 5 minutes. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. Allowing yourself to be in coherence where your entire self-awareness emanates from your heart space. You can think of it as if you could only see the world through your heart. Keep breathing deeply and slowly, and notice what you noticed. Become aware of any sensations, perceptions, expansion that may show up for you. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. realize that you can perceive energies all around you, 360 degrees. Notice what you noticed. Become aware of the stillness that exists within you. Now listen. Listen as if the more than 50 trillion cells that exist in your body had ears. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And become aware of any inner presence, knowing, discomfort, or expansion. that may want to show up for you. What are you feeling? Is this one feeling? Or a combination of multiple feelings? What is the first feeling? What is the second feeling? Are there any other feelings involved? What emotional need are these feelings trying to fulfill? The truth will set you free. What internal need is behind this discomfort? Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts, and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts, and I receive with gratitude. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pierre. That was very fruitful in surprising ways. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Janice. I wanted to remind everyone as well that to reserve on May 7th, WESOC 2023 will happen on Sunday, May 7th from 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the theme for WESOC this year is aligning to the flow of abundant living. Just put that in your calendar. I'm getting more details. I just got this information a few days back. I just want to make sure that I give you a heads up to reserve this in your calendar so that you can participate and co-create with us. It's going to be online like it was the year before. Okay.
Pierre, do you know when you might have like an event on Facebook or something we could share?
I'm working on it. As soon as I have it, maybe in a week or two.
Okay.
Because I have to get all the channeling. I've contacted my speakers. I have to get all this lined up.
Yeah, could you
so that I can create the program and start working on this. Okay.
right, if you you know how sometimes when you create on Facebook, you don't even have the program, you just have the event, right?
Yes, but I need to do there's some basic channeling that needs to happen first. So welcome channel, there's several things, because it's not just the event. I need to create a page that links it to, that is linked to.
I see. Oh, okay, on your website.
Because it's
okay.
an online event, I need to have it needs to go to a page. So that the information on the page has to be created.
Right. When you have this, could you let us know? Because
Yes, I will. Absolutely.
I think it's just such a universal, many people might be interested, you know, it's such a universal thing.
And more to the point is that this year, predictably and also astrologically, is a year of financial constriction.
Right.
And the fact that abundant living is something that's transcendental. And if you're connected to it, none of that will touch you.
Yeah. So well, I definitely will be sharing, you know,
Yes.
once you have it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
All right. I want to thank all of you for listening to me tonight. If you're listening to us on Patreon, we want to thank you for your support. And if you're listening to us on YouTube, please like this video. Go to click on the like button and subscribe to the channel to increase the algorithm. I would really appreciate it. And I'll talk to you next week. Thank you so much. Blessings.
Thank you, Pierre.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Good night. Good night, Janice.
Good night, Jason.